present For the Record with Neil Heinen.
1 year of listening to each other. An update on the Local Voices Network is next on For the Record. Thanks for joining us. I'm Neil Heinen. The act of listening may not jump out as the most dynamic approach to creating a healthier civil society, but for a lot of people, the WISC editorial board included, it was one of the most exciting new ideas of 2019. At the beginning of the year, Cortico, a nonprofit organization with a mission of fostering constructive public conversations in communities and the media, launched the Local Voices Network. LVN brought together small groups of people with a trained volunteer, let folks talk to each other, recorded the anonymous conversations, and made them available for anyone interested in who we are and what we are concerned about. So what did we learn? The leader of the LVN initiative in Madison is UW political science professor Kathy Cramer, and she's back to give us a report. Hi, Kathy.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on, and thank you.
I've been excited about this. I mean, I was excited about the idea to begin with, but after our first conversation, I really wanted to revisit it at the end of the year.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being so supportive of it from the very beginning. I mean, I remember when we first talked about it for the first time, just you and the editorial board just having such an emphasis on listening yourselves, and so I really appreciate it.
I mean, at this moment in our history, and we could probably look back over the last 4 or 5 years and pick out a bunch of them, but it seems particularly relevant today, doesn't it, in December as we watch what's going on in Washington?
Yeah, it really does. I have to say, listening to the impeachment hearings over the past, few days, and just the markup process and all that, I was craving more listening from our leaders, and I'm just very happy that people here in Madison and elsewhere around the country are actually showing the ability to do that in a difficult context.
I don't know how much we need to remind people about the Local Voices Network and how it worked, but just give us a synopsis, sure, maybe of the groups that you participated in and helped with and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. So the purpose was to try to foster conversations in communities, geographic places, and in the media that help us understand one another better. So the structure is there's a facilitator who's a volunteer from the community who's trained to lead people through a script which is more of a guide. And it basically is, who are you? What are your values? What do you love about this place? What are you concerned about in this community? And what do you wish people would know about your life? And they lead a small group discussion, volunteers from the community, typically people who know one another, and they gather around this thing we call the digital hearth, which Cortico designed. It is a fancy recorder as well as a speaker, and the hearth, it records the whole conversation, and when the conversation is over, the hearth go back to the public libraries. Our Madison Public Libraries has been an awesome collaborator, and these things live in the libraries, and then all the data is uploaded to a cloud, and then it's made available to the participants through this wonderful software that Cortico has invented, which is, it shows visually the conversation and allows you to read the whole thing and hear the whole thing. And so it's been useful for media partners as well to listen in, as well as the participants in the conversations to have an ear to the ground and understand what people in other parts of the city are saying.
We'll talk a little bit about who has been taking advantage of all of this, but what it's not, Kathy, is the facilitator saying, how do you feel about this, or how do you feel about this?
Yeah, the participants set the agenda. So by design, the questions are very open-ended. It enables people to surface whatever their concerns are. And so people in the community are saying, I love this about the community, but I'm really concerned about transportation or affordable housing or crime or the schools. It really is very community-driven by design.
And am I right? It sort of evolved throughout the year, right? You didn't start at the beginning of the year with, we're going to do X number of groups and collect this much information.
I mean, we've always had high goals. One of the main goals is to try to involve people who aren't normally involved in a public conversation project in Madison. So there's been a lot of kind of community organizing outreach going on. And I should say now the person who's running LVN Madison is Colleen Butler, who for a long time was with the YWCA, running racial justice and women's empowerment programs. And we also have this great community builder now, Matthias Lehman, Ramos Castillo. And so there's been all kinds of on-the-ground footwork trying to draw people in. But we are constantly learning from our participants and from our facilitators, whom we call hosts, about what's working, what's not working, how to better reach out to different corners of the community. And so we've evolved in that respect. And then we spread across the state a bit and across the country. So we now have chapters in central Wisconsin, Appleton, the Bronx, Harlem, so New York City broadly. The New York City Public Libraries is a partner, Boston, and in January, Birmingham, Alabama, and then there's a few other states that are just around the corner that we're starting to build.
Madison was first. Were we the only one for a while this year?
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
For the first, I'd say, first half of the year. And we had a small pilot in the Bronx, New York City first, which was a great team member. Max Resnick was leading conversations in public libraries in the Bronx. And then, but Madison was the first place where we tried out the network, where it was this team of amazing group of volunteers, facilitators from the community, training those folks early in 2019, and then just building out from there and having conversations around the city.
Still partnering with the Media Lab, Kathy,
yes.
at MIT?
Yes.
Okay.
So Cortico is a nonprofit partner to a lab at the Media Lab called the Laboratory for Social Machines. So my collaborator, Deb Roy, is the director of that laboratory, Laboratory for Social Machines.
And I'll ask you a little bit more about this later, but this is a long-term project, right? I mean, this
for sure. Yeah, and to be clear, I mean, I'm a public opinion scholar, right? And so my interest is in what people are saying and how they're saying it. But we did not build this to collect data. That was not my intent. Instead, my intent was, I want to use my talents in knowing how valuable listening is and knowing the kind of situations that encourage listening, enable people to be heard, to build with these folks, with an amazing group of people, to build a new kind of public communication network. And so we will always be tinkering with it. We will always be improving it and hopefully expanding it to more communities. But as far as we're concerned, it is a long-term project.
But Deb and his colleagues at the lab will also be listening to this data from a academic scientist perspective?
Right.
Yeah.
So there's computer engineers involved, designers, language specialists, and so people from a variety of angles trying to put their heads together to figure out how do we connect people through the simple act of face-to-face conversations, and then partnering technology with that to amplify the voices of people. So for me, it's been a wonderful adventure in the benefits of technology to democracy, because frankly, until I had met these folks, I was in a pretty negative space with respect to what technology can do in terms of improving our civic fabric.
Interesting. Well, when we come back, I want to talk about who has been participating and what you've heard. And we'll do that with Kathy Cramer right after this.
For the Record, sponsored by MG&E, your community energy company.
You could win 5,000 big ones at Fleet Farm in our Big Bucks giveaway. To enter, buy anything online and pick it up in store. Order by noon on the 24th to pick it up in time for Christmas. Just click it, pick it, win it. Fleet Farm. Gifts are big here.
This season, take an incredible journey through 5,000 years of culture with Shen Yun. Discover why people are calling Shen Yun a visual feast. A pleasure to the ear. An epic tale. A must-see. Shen Yun, returning to Overture Center for the Arts, February 4th and 5th. Tickets at shenyun.com/WI.
At Chevy, we're all about bringing families together.
This time of year, that's really important.
That's why our Chevy employee discount is now available to everyone.
The Chevy price you pay is what we pay.
Not a cent more. Family is important to us.
So happy holidays.
And welcome to the family.
The Chevy family.
Use your Chevy employee discount for everyone to get a total value of over $11,800 on this Silverado All-Star.
See your Badgerland Chevy dealer today.
Shop
Steinhoffel's year-end specials. Save 35% store-wide, plus get amazing deals priced to sell out, like this TV console, now $149. Choose from one of these 4 dining sets at an unbeatable price, only $249 each. 2-piece Chase sofas, your choice, $499. Or one of these power reclining sofas, $599 each. 5-piece upholstered bedroom set, now $899. Plus, save 60% on all holiday accessories. It's Steinhoffel's year-end specials.
Fleet Farm has every gift for every list. Like for the guy who's big into fitness. Men's Under Armour Rival Fleece hoodies are 25% off. Hurry in for the biggest selection and savings on last-minute gifts. Fleet Farm. Gifts are big here.
I am back with Kathy Cramer, UW political scientist, who has spent this past year leading the Local Voices Network initiative here in Madison. She's going back to the university, but will continue to be involved in the Local Voices Network. And so who did participate? I mean, and were they people that you expected? And how has this grown? And how have people learned about it?
So a wide range of people, but yes, the people you would expect participated, definitely
certainly
participated.
Initially, right? Yep,
right.
Yep.
But we have had young people, we have had people in the deaf community, people of color from a variety of communities. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, one of our big concerns was to try to involve people who might not normally be involved in a public conversation project in Madison. And so we are constantly trying to reach out to those folks, the voices of people who aren't necessarily in the conversations, but we've been able to do that. So like I said, young people, people at the university, students around the city, people who have mobility issues, so we've had to use different creative ways of going to people. Thankfully, the hearths are very portable. You know, they live in the public libraries, but then they can be taken by a facilitator to wherever people are comfortable having a conversation. So a wide range of people from, I would say, most if not all neighborhoods in the city.
Typically participating in one conversation, or would other participants then want to do more?
Yeah, I mean, it's very common for people at the end to say, wow, this was really great, let's do this again. But I would say typically, so far this year, people have participated in one. There's a few people who have participated in more than one. But then sometimes you also see people saying, they're suggesting it to a friend or a neighbor or a coworker, and so you see people sort of recruiting from another walk of life and then having another conversation in that respect.
Of course, the imagination instantly goes to a dynamic where there are two people of very different perspectives on something in the same room. Did you experience any of that?
Some, but you know, by design, we were not aiming for that. So we were aiming for people who knew one another, because we wanted people to be comfortable enough to immediately launch into who they are, what they care about, what they're concerned about. Because we were asking people for about 75 minutes of their time, and building trust in a small group of people takes at least that much time, right? And so people knowing one another, they were able to launch into a conversation pretty quickly. And we were also very mindful that there are many people in this community and elsewhere who want to better understand people who are not like themselves, whether we're talking politically or culturally, what have you, but yet don't really want to have a face-to-face conversation with that person or those people. And we're just at a time where, unfortunately, that's the case, where people, we encounter someone with a different point of view and we almost automatically shut down. So we didn't encounter too many people with different points of view, but part of the design is bringing in different points of view to the conversation through these digital hearths. So we're able to play an excerpt from another conversation that people can then pause and reflect on.
I guess I wasn't even thinking so much of intentionally setting up a dichotomy, but more people who know each other, who like each other, who maybe haven't felt comfortable talking about certain issues. And now they're in an environment where perhaps they can. And that's where you discover someone else's perspective in a way that you might hear it that they wouldn't have normally.
Well, that's true, and sometimes in surprising ways. So For example, there was one time when I hosted a conversation in someone's home, and it was a close group of friends, and at the end of the conversation, one of the men remarked, you know that story that Jill told about that formative experience in her childhood and it led her to become an environmentalist? Well, I never heard that story before. And well, Jill was his wife. So,
funny.
Yeah, people really, they are discovering a lot about people that they knew. And partly it's, we just don't normally allow ourselves these opportunities to have a conversation in which we say, so what's a value that's important to you? And what do you really love about living here? Like, why have you stayed? What brought you here, and
I'm not going to criticize you for that, right? I'm going to listen, and I want to try to understand.
Yeah, and we've tried through the structure of the conversation and some of the ground rules that we have the participants go over together at the beginning. There's a very strong norm of people telling stories, and that's what we were aiming for. We wanted people to be sharing stuff from their lives, not coming together and saying, well, here are my bullet points, here's why I'm right, and here's this study I read, and we wanted people to be sharing their personal experiences. And it's amazing how much people open up when they have that opportunity.
Do you even have a rough idea how many people you've reached, Kathy?
Well, sure. I know across the whole network, so across the whole country, there's been, well, probably a few more than this now, but 160 conversations, and 850 people have participated.
Okay.
So how many other people have been affected by someone talking about their experience in LVN, or them reading about it in the news, or reading content that came up that's been used by a journalist? That's hard to say.
So several hundred in the Madison area.
Oh, right.
Easily.
Sure, yes. Yeah, so there have been at least 100 conversations, if I have that right. I may be off by a few numbers, in Madison itself, right? And roughly, you know, about 6 people per conversation.
Yeah. I mean, just from a journalist perspective, I'm interested in at what point we begin hearing from people when we're out talking about issues that, you know, I was in this LVN conversation.
Yeah.
And I heard this. I mean, I assume that ultimately that's going to be part of the...
We sure hope so. I mean, one of our goals is for people in the community to recognize it as a way for them to both be heard by other community members and public officials and journalists, as well as to listen to other people in the community. And so that would be ideal.
Yeah. Did the Police and Fire Commission reach out to you?
Well, yes, in a way. So the Police and Fire Commission, there are 5 volunteers from the community who sit on that commission. And one of them is Jacqueline Bogus, who was actually a participant in one of the very earliest LVN conversations in my home. And so she was aware of LVN. And we've been in conversation with city government for some time to try to just to let them know this is what's going on, this might be useful to you. Are there ways we might collaborate to really amplify the voices of the community up through city government? And so there's been a variety of ways in which the possibility was there, but then Colleen Butler really made a great link in going to the PFC, having a conversation with them about what LVN is all about, and it's ultimately up to them how they're going to use it. And their next meeting, if I remember right, is on the 30th of December, and they'll decide for sure. But it sounds like it will be an opportunity for people in the community to have their voices heard in the search for a new police chief.
Heard by the Police and Fire Commission, but also what's so appealing is that anyone else in the community can listen to those conversations and get a sense of what their fellow citizens are thinking about this process.
I mean, if they participate in a conversation, then they're automatically a part of the network, and they can go online and read and hear. And for me, it really is one of the perks of this process, in that when someone participates, their voice is then, it doesn't just evaporate. It's part of the archive. It's part of the collection. And yes, people in the community can go back and say, well, what I heard that person saying in this conversation was this. So,
When we come back, we'll talk about another exciting application of the Local Voices Network with Kathy Cramer right after this.
It's the holiday sale at Denver Mattress. Mattress. Right now, get a $300 Furniture Row gift certificate with select Tempur-Pedic mattress sets. Or check out the Summit Queen, only $189.99.
Plus 5 years no interest financing.
The holiday sale, on now at Denver Mattress.
At Chevy, we're all about bringing families together.
This time of year, that's really important.
That's why our Chevy employee discount is now available to everyone.
The Chevy price you pay is what we pay.
Not a cent more. Family is important to us.
So happy holidays.
And welcome to the family.
The Chevy family.
Use your Chevy employee discount for everyone to get a total value of over $11,800 on this Silverado All-Star.
When looking for a TV and internet provider, we know you have a choice. This is Jessica. She still has satellite TV.
Well, I get tons of HD.
Spectrum has tons of HD, and we love Spectrum's 24-hour local news channel. Plus, we get exclusive access to premium original content with Spectrum Originals.
I don't have that.
Get Spectrum TV from $44.99 a month. Call 833-976-4499.
Spectrum Internet starts at 200 megabits with no data caps and a free modem.
We have to get internet from another company, and it isn't nearly as fast.
Spectrum Internet, $44.99 a month.
I'd switch, but I'm stuck in a contract and would have to pay up to $480 to cancel.
Spectrum has no contracts, and they'll pay up to $500 to help you out of yours.
That's it. I'm switching to Spectrum.
Get Spectrum TV and internet from $44.99 a month each. Call 833-976-4499.
It's the holiday sale at Denver Mattress. Right now, get a $300 Furniture Row gift certificate with select Tempur-Pedic mattress sets. Or check out the Summit Queen, only $189.99.
Plus 5 years no interest financing.
The holiday sale, on now at Denver Mattress.
Download the new Channel 3000 app and get alerted on your mobile device the minute news breaks. Wherever you go, be the first to know with Channel 3000.
The Local Voices Network, an exciting initiative that is the result of a nonprofit called Cortico. And it is looking at how we might talk to each other and listen to each other better. Kathy Cramer, UW-Madison political science professor, has led the initiative throughout this year and continues to be involved with it. So it feels like the relationship with the Police and Fire Commission, the idea that this could be valuable to them, which I absolutely love, was a little bit of an expansion of the idea.
Sure.
And now you're going to do something with the United Way.
Which is so exciting for us. Yes, so our United Way is celebrating their 100th anniversary next year. And they reached out to us and said, we're aware of the Local Voices Network. Would you collaborate with us and help us do 100 conversations across the city to both help them understand the impact that they've had on the community, as well as hear from the community about what people here want the United Way to do going forward and what the needs in the community are. So we're really excited about that. Yeah, it's just around the corner. And both this and the PFC is, I mean, it's one of the reasons that we piloted here in Madison, because there's so much community engagement and these really strong community-wide organizations to collaborate with and just to make it even more possible for more people to be heard.
How much thinking have you done, Kathy, about the implications of this in 2020?
A lot.
A presidential election year. I mean, there's a lot going on.
Right. A lot in various respects. So like many people, I am constantly thinking, what am I supposed to be doing with my talents at this point in history? It's clear we're in quite a state of affairs in which our democracy needs some love. And so the Local Voices Network has been, in part, my way of trying to aim for something better next time around. But I've also thought about it a lot in the respect of people coming to us and saying, are you doing conversations around the election? And my response is, every single one of these conversations is about the presidential election, even though it's about local concerns typically. And in my mind, what conversations around an election should be are people talking about what they care about, what their concerns are, what their hopes for the future are, not how do you feel about this candidate, or what did you think about that debate or that interaction between those candidates. I suppose that stuff is important, but really it shouldn't be how are we reacting to the candidates, but how are the candidates responding to what we're saying are our concerns.
Yeah. Will you be adding communities around the country next year?
Sure.
Okay.
And I can't announce for sure which communities those will be, but yes, we're always on the lookout to expand, but we're trying to do it carefully too. So it's a very community-driven approach in which we don't just take LVN to a place and plop it down, right? People reach out to us, we reach out to communities and try to understand what's already going on in a community and what people on the ground there want in terms of connecting with each other. And so we're building our extensions of LVN in that respect. And we really are intent on expanding to a variety of types of places. So, you know, reaching out to Appleton and collaborating with folks there and collaborating with folks in Waupaca and now more broadly central Wisconsin was all about not just being in cities in Wisconsin and elsewhere, but in all types of communities.
And locally in Madison, you are still welcoming inquiries from people who would like to participate?
Yes, and so all they need to do is go to lvn.org, our website, and then click on the Learn More About Madison page, and then just a little bit down, there's an opportunity to volunteer.
You've enjoyed it?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
It's still a really exciting project.
It is really exciting. I've learned so much, and the people involved are just amazing people, the volunteers and the team at Cortico.
All right, well, stick with us and come back and keep updating us on this process, Kathy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're going to come back and wrap up For the Record right after this.
MG&E, building a community energy company for the future through the power of working together, committed to cleaner, more sustainable energy, driven by innovation, fostered by shared values. Energy2030together.com.
I am a nurse,
a firefighter, a college student,
a mother, and I am an American soldier. I will always be ready
for every storm and disaster that threatens my community. I will always be there to protect my neighbors,
my family,
and my country.
We are the Army National Guard.
We are the Army National Guard.
We are the Army National Guard.
Visit nationalguard.com to learn more about part-time service.
At Chevy, we're all about bringing families together.
This time of year, that's really important.
That's why our Chevy employee discount is now available to everyone.
The Chevy price you pay is what we pay.
Not a cent more.
Family is important to us.
So happy holidays and welcome to the family.
The Chevy family.
Use your Chevy employee discount for everyone to get over $6,100 below MSRP on this Equinox. Get the Chevy employee discount for everyone today.
My family has stayed true to our original sausage recipe for over 130 years because taste and authenticity matter to each and every one of us. So when we expanded our products to include other types of sausage, bacon, and Canadian bacon, we maintained our commitment to never cutting corners. It's a promise my family guaranteed in the past, I guarantee today, and the next generation of Jones leaders will too.
MG&E, building a community energy company for the future through the power of working together, committed to cleaner, more sustainable energy, driven by innovation, fostered by shared values. Energy2030together.com.
All right, thanks to Kathy Cramer and to you for joining us. Enjoy your holiday weekends. We'll see you next week on For the Record.